Welcome back to the New Yachtsman. I've got a great guest today, and I asked Anita to get with us today because I'm finding that the inventory is really low right now in the market, and a lot of people are looking at brokerage boats and maybe a boat that's not exactly what they want. And I think it's important to understand how you can get a boat from how it sits today to what your dream is. And really working with interior designers, interior decorators, they can really add a lot to the table that frankly, I as a yacht broker, I don't get it. I know when a boat looks great, but I don't know why. And I really think you need an expert to help you with not only like color palettes and stuff like that you're used to in your home, but the overall theme of the boat inside. Is it a modern look? Is it a classic look? You really have to have an eye for that kind of stuff. So, Anita, maybe you could just introduce yourself and give us a little background.
Yeah. Bill, my name is Anita Turcott. I am the owner of Verge Yacht Design. We have been in business for close to a year at this moment, but we've been in the field for 6 years or so. My background is in interior design and went right into the yachting world, sport fishing, functionality, things of that sort, and then used my background in design school into yacht interiors. So that's where we're at.
And you went to, what's the school in Savannah, the design
So
school?
yeah. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design for interior design. And
Great.
then straight out of the university, I went into the marine field.
So what does the process look like for a new yachtsman? Let's say they buy a 7-year-old boat and it's got good bones, but it's just not what their vision was for what the inside of this yacht looks like. What's that process look like?
So, I mean, this typically happens when you purchase a boat that has been used from a different vendor. It could have great bones. It could need some, additional work in terms of that. But when you're thinking of aesthetics and space planning, we want it to fit the new client. So fit in every way, shape, or form. So whether we're moving heads, adding spaces, adding deck space, whatever the client wants to do in terms of their function and flow in the yacht, that's what we look at as a big picture. We then go into conceptual design, and from there into, renderings and drawings so everyone can see what it's going to look like before we start construction. And then from there, once it's approved, we do the whole thing. So we work with naval architects, we work with the yard, we build construction, and then of course we look at materials, color palettes, things of that sort, making sure that everything is aesthetically pleasing, functional, and then obviously to withstand the marine environments as well. So
What would you say to the new yachtsman that's maybe used an interior decorator in their home? How is that process quite a bit different in the marine industry?
Yeah, I actually get that question a lot. What's the difference between an interior designer or a decorator, basically on land versus in the water? And there's a lot of differences. Materiality is a big thing. Durability is a big thing. Functionality and space planning in terms of, we're not just using this cocktail table as an aesthetic piece to put your feet on and a little drink table. We have storage inside. It's got multiple functions. Every nook and cranny is usable space. And then also, we look at the durability of each product. Something that's in your home, whether we say it's, a piece of wood, we're going to have to finish it completely different. We have to route and change the shapes. You don't want to hurt yourself. So there's a lot of differences in terms of on land or in the water when it comes to design. And I think the main thing is functionality, making sure we're using all the space available, and then the materials are completely different.
So when you're talking about the materials being different, you're talking about really the humidity of a boat and things like that, where I really can't use the same silk fabrics and raw leathers that I would use in a home because they just won't hold up.
You can in certain scales of projects. If you've got a 75 meter, it's a little bit different versus, a 50, 60, 70 foot yacht in terms of humidity and climate control and things of that sort. But yeah, in the big scheme of things, you're thinking, sun exposure. This paint might be great in your interior, but when you get out on the water and it's sitting in the sun 24/7, it's going to deteriorate. Materials such as metals, 316, titanium, 304 brushed are gonna hold up, whereas, you know, a little piece of whatever other kind of metal that you're using on land might look beautiful, but it's not gonna hold off in a yacht. So
Right.
just knowing your whole dictionary of what materials you can use it's a big difference between on land and then in the water, designing on the water.
So what's the process for the new yachtsman? They buy a 60-foot boat. They're not happy with the interior. You would have someone come on board, and then what does that whole process look like?
Yeah, so let's say someone were to call us and say they're interested in changing aesthetics and changing function. The process really looks like we come to the yacht, we look at the spaces, we see what's doable. So we collaborate with either the naval architect or the yard. We look at the boat builder. A lot of times they have plans. And if not, we'll have to get engineers in there and we pull out, you know, bulkheads or whatever we need to do to see what's behind the space. Because conceptually we could come up with great grand ideas, but then, you know, physically we have to make sure that it can be done. So once that's approved, once we have our drawings and designs approved and it can physically be done, then we go into the process of actually construction. So then we find vendors in the area, or we bring our own vendors. You know, wherever the yacht is, we'll have to find, it's great to find vendors that are in that area. So you're not flying people in from all over. It cuts down on the budget. But sometimes we can bring people for certain tasks. It depends on what it is. But then, yeah, then we start construction. So for Verge, not only do we go with the planning, the design, but we also do project management. So we'll take that entire scope of work in terms of making sure all your vendors are on schedule, budget is ready. We're there to help guide construction. Then at the end of it, we do all the finish work. So then you add all the pretty stuff, the linens, the table settings, colors, pops of color, art, you know, things of that sort. And then we hand it off and it's beautiful. It's exactly what you wanted it to be.
And I assume that, you know, if it's a larger job, you're probably going to be in a boatyard as opposed to sitting in a marina.
Correct.
So new yachtsman, I just wanted to interject here, you know, after you buy a brokerage boat, you're probably going to have some mechanical things and stuff that need to be addressed as well. And I think you would typically have this interior stuff being done at the same time. You don't have to wait for step A for step B to start. So it wouldn't be uncommon for this to take several months, correct?
Oh yeah, no, it's not uncommon. I mean, it's not to say that it can't be done faster either. I mean, sometimes you'd be surprised, just a change of linens, a change of art decor, some different colors, different carpeting, different flooring, that can be done pretty quickly and it'll change everything. But if you're looking at mechanical work, that's a good time. If you're putting it in the yard anyway, it's a great time for you to collaborate with a designer and get things done at the same time. We put everything on a schedule, you know, what's happening, and you're not wasting your time when you're in the yard. You can't use the yacht anyway, so you might as well change the aesthetics and make it the way you want to. But definitely on every single one of our projects, mechanical work is being done at the same time as we're doing the interiors.
Great. And budget wise, I guess, you know, it's all over the map. There's really no rule of thumb. It can just be soft goods or it can be extensive.
Yeah, I mean, budget really, it's a conversation that needs to happen day one. It's something that needs to be transparent. With Verge, we really pride ourselves in transparency. You know what our fee is. We do preliminary quotes at no cost to the owner, which is a great thing to do. If you can kind of get an idea and a scale of how long it's going to take in your budget, then you try to stay within that. Of course, there's things that come and go. You know, you could be under budget at the end, or you could find out that something else had to happen behind some flooring or wall or electric or plumbing, and that's kind of out of our control. But for the most part, we do everything possible to keep in budget and even sometimes go below budget, which has happened before. So yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine you have good relationships with vendors of tables and fabrics and things like that that are much better than retail, where the customer couldn't buy with the buying power you have.
Yeah, so I mean, just for reference, you know, every single one of my vendors that I can think, every single one of them actually now that I think of, do not sell outside of the trade. Most of, as you know, 90% of the things that you're going to put on the yacht are going to be custom fitted to the space. In terms of materiality and sizing. So, I mean, most of the stuff has to be made custom anyway. Right. It's not something you can buy off the shelf.
Well, any last words of advice for a new yachtsman looking at an older boat?
don't be scared. I mean, really don't be scared. It might look like there's no way you're going to get it to where you want it to be, but you'd be surprised. You get somebody that's creative, has the patience, and let them do all the work for you.
That's great. Thank you very much for your time. And everyone out there, please like and subscribe, and be sure to send us some questions if you have any. Thank you.